Is the Bengals season over? Let me know in the comment section. Type Y for yes or N for no. The Bengals, of course, suffered yet another devastating loss last night on the road to the Los Angeles Chargers, 34-27. Zach Taylor still holding on to some hope that the Bengals aren't quite finished yet here in 2024, but I want to know what you think. Get in the comment section. Is the Bengals season over? Type Y for yes or N for no. Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. Once again, I am your host, Stone Shields, on hand for today's edition of Bengals Breakdown. Going to be doing our typical Overreaction Monday here this morning, talking about some things that transpired last night, of course, for the Cincinnati Bengals. I am doing some solo producing, by the way, so if you see me look down or whatever the case may be, just trying to do multiple things here at once as we progress throughout today's show. But look, another frustrating performance for Cincinnati. Heartbreaking, devastating, maddening. So many adjectives you can use to describe exactly what went down at SoFi Stadium last night. And we're really going to just unpack some five major topics here. And we're going to be talking about whether or not I believe they are overreactions or not overreactions. Again, the Bengals fall to 4-7. And their playoff chances are very much dwindling, and I'm not exactly sure if they still exist, to be completely honest with you, at this point in the season. We'll get into our first overreaction here. Fire Lou Anarumo. Look, I completely understand the frustration with the defense at this point in the season. The performance that Cincinnati put out there in the first half last night defensively was just absolutely horrible. And if Lou Anarumo is the guy calling the shots, I think he deserves a lot of blame for some of the things that went down with that Cincinnati defense last night. I mean, Justin Herbert essentially was perfect for a while there in the first half. Wasn't throwing any incompletions. He was killing the Bengals with his legs as well. The Bengals did a nice job of adjusting to that in the second half. But look, I just don't think Lou Anarumo has the personnel needed to go out there and win. So I believe this is an overreaction, but I do completely understand people that think Lou Anarumo should be fired. And at some point, if the Bengals finish the season kind of the way in which it is trending right now, Zach Taylor might be forced to make a major decision, and that might be something like firing Lou Anarumo. But I just don't think he has a chance with the personnel they have out there. Really, it's Trey Hendrickson's a really only good player defensively, to be completely honest with you. I think that starts with the front office, ownership, not being, getting the right guys in free agency. And of course, you've had some whiffs in the draft as well. So I would get it if somebody needs to be a scapegoat. That's probably, how things work in this league. Somebody needs to pay the price for poor performance. But if Lou Anarumo was fired, I believe he would have a job the next day with another team in this league as the defensive coordinator. I think it is more a personnel issue, but I definitely understand the frustration with the defensive side of the ball. And, of course, that falls on the shoulders of Lou Anarumo. Leads to the pinned comment of today's video. Should the Bengals fire Lou Anarumo? Let us know in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Type F for fire or K for keep. I want to know what you guys think. I know you guys are frustrated and you're probably looking for somebody to lose their job. Don't like coming on here and calling for people's jobs, but just kind of the nature of the business. When you perform this poorly and, such a level below the expectations in which you had going into the season, somebody's probably got to pay the price at some point. Not anticipating a move to be made during the bye week, but potentially at season's end. The next overreaction here is that it is time for kicker tryouts. And look, I don't believe this is an overreaction whatsoever. I'm a big fan of Evan McPherson. You think about all the runs that Cincinnati had to the Super Bowl and then to the AFC Championship the following year as well. Evan McPherson was a massive part of that, but he is just a liability at this point in the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Those two missed kicks. Personally, if I had to pick one person to blame for this loss, look, a lot of people deserve blame, but if I had to pick one, it's Evan McPherson at the top of the list. He cannot, absolutely not miss those two field goals. Maybe, okay, you get missing one of them, but he had an opportunity for redemption. For Evan McPherson, I get there on the longer side, but he's an NFL kicker, and he's proven he can make those in the past. Mark Chase said after the game that's why he is getting paid the big bucks, is to make those big-time kicks. He has in the past. This year it has not worked out that way. I would be holding kicker tryouts as soon as possible, despite the fact that McPherson got that contract extension this offseason. Look, the margin for error just is too slim right now. They also have kicker problems on top of it. You saw the Bengals go away from them on Thursday night against Baltimore. They didn't have a choice. They had to go to him here on Sunday night against the Chargers. He was able to execute on the chip shots, but the longer it got back, the more left his kicks went, and ultimately he was not able to execute, get the ball through the uprights. And again, a major reason as to why Cincinnati lost. I love Evan McPherson, but it's time to look at other options at that kicker position. Zach Taylor said he's going to continue to believe in him. Fair, but you might need to bring somebody else in and get a little kicking competition going because your kicker right now in Evan McPherson simply is not cutting it. We'll continue with our overreactions here in a moment, but first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks because they are the sponsor of today's show. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. They also invented the Flex Play here at PrizePicks, and this is kind of the Flex Play slate that we put together here at Chat Sports for Monday night's contest, of course, between the Texans and the Cowboys, going with the less than on the Cooper Rush pass yards, the more than on Joe Mixon rushing yards, of course, former Cincinnati Bengal there, and the more than on Rico Dowdle receiving yards as well. That is our Prize Picks Flex Play slate that we are rolling with tonight. So essentially, you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Next potential overreaction here is the old Cincinnati Bengals have returned. And look, I don't believe this is an overreaction whatsoever. If you remember kind of in the Andy Dalton era, right, and certainly parts of the Carson Palmer era as well, sometimes this team would have solid players and make really big plays and really exciting plays, but they ultimately couldn't find ways to finish, and they lost so many one-possession games and so many games in which they had the lead. And you're seeing that again this year for Cincinnati, just not making the plays when it counts in the fourth quarter, which is incredibly frustrating, for the Cincinnati Bengals football team because the talent is there at really key spots. Not on defense, don't have the personnel there on defense, but when you have guys like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and they're doing the things that they're doing, it is just frustrating to see them continue to fall short in the win column. Justin Herbert really had his way with this Cincinnati Bengals defense in this football game, particularly in that first half. He was absolutely unbelievable, just completely dicing up this Cincinnati Bengals football team. And look, that's kind of what set the Bengals apart in recent years when they were able to go on their runs in the playoffs. It was like, wow, this is a totally different team. This team actually knows how to finish and make the winning plays in the fourth quarter. Well, they have reverted back to old ways, kind of pre-Joe Burrow era stuff in terms of their ability to finish games and capitalize on opportunities when they get them. So many golden opportunities in that fourth quarter to find a way to take the lead. I understand you had that incredible comeback, but there was absolutely no reason you shouldn't have at least had the lead at one point in the fourth quarter, not able to execute, and ultimately fell short. And really, it reminded me a lot of some of those older Cincinnati Bengals teams from the eras previous to the Joe Burrow era. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Who deserves the most blame for Sunday's loss? Let us know in the comment section of today's video. For me personally, it's Evan McPherson if I'm picking one guy. Absolutely have to make one of those kicks. Is there, any proof that the Chargers wouldn't have gone down or tied the game or taken the lead still? No, there is not. But look, absolutely have to make those kicks as a professional. He's made them in the past. Didn't make them on Sunday night, and it cost the Bengals this football game. Next potential overreaction here as we get a little positive news on today's video. Burrow keeps getting better. Look, that is not an overreaction whatsoever. Joe Burrow is absolutely unbelievable. During our watch party, I was a little bit hard on him as far as his performance in the first half. I thought that first half definitely was one of his worst halves of the season, probably his worst half if you take out that Patriots game. Probably was the first half of this Chargers game. But in the second half, Joe Burrow returned, the guy that we know. And just his ability to extend some of the escapes you saw when it looked like he was dead to rights and he got out of it. The dimes he was throwing as he was getting drilled. I mean, so many times it reminded you a lot of the Baltimore game from the previous week. He's letting go of the ball, he's getting drilled, and he's still finding ways to put it on the money. The run as well in the fourth quarter, that got everybody fired up. That was, vintage Joe Burrow, of course, signaling for that first down like he does in his patented way. But, man, Joe Burrow is just an absolutely unbelievable player. And that's kind of what this is my coping mechanism, essentially, is when you're sitting there and you're frustrated with what's going on, just sit back and tell yourself, at least we get to watch Joe Burrow play quarterback for our football team. That certainly is a privilege. Yeah, that could make it more frustrating because it's like, this guy's so good and the Bengals are 4-7. I get it. But I think we just need to be thankful for this guy and what he does out there on the football field because it is absolutely unbelievable. And as long as he's the quarterback for this football team, this team will always have a chance and will always have some hope. So that certainly is something to hang on to. It is amazing that he finds a way to continue to get better and better and better. It's really hard to wrap your head around. There's no telling, what the ceiling is. I think really the sky's the limit for this guy. He is absolutely unbelievable. Definitely had a couple of misses there in the fourth quarter, which I've criticized him. Fourth quarter not being his money quarter like it typically is. Missed Jamar on the slant, missed him on the go ball as well. Obviously if one of those plays are executed, you probably win the game, but all the other plays in that second half besides those moments, pretty much flawless in the second half from Joe Burrow. Absolutely unbelievable. He keeps playing at this level and continues to get better and better and better. Absolutely not an overreaction at all because Joe Burrow clearly is finding ways to continue to get better. Last overreaction here, the Bengals should tank. And look, that is just absolutely blasphemous. I really don't think there is ever a situation when an NFL team should go out there and tank, but specifically not when Joe Burrow is your quarterback and you have Jamar Chase and it's probably T. Higgins last year in Cincinnati. I don't even want to be thinking about that until you are officially eliminated from the playoffs. And even if that happens, look, these guys are professionals. They're competitors. They're they're playing for themselves. They're playing for their legacy. They're playing for their families. Going out there and tanking isn't going to do you any good. Plus, there's really only one player in this draft that would even make sense tanking for, and that's Travis Hunter. And unfortunately, the Bengals at this point already have too many wins. They don't have a prayer at landing Travis Hunter. The Bengals certainly could use him, need a lockdown corner. But as far as the tanking goes, that's just an absolutely absurd comment, and there's no reason that a team in general should think about doing that. Certainly not the Cincinnati Bengals here in 2024. Going to have some opportunity. At this point, obviously I'm not optimistic, but with the state of the AFC, you very well could squeak in with 9 wins, which wouldn't be running the table. That would allow you to still lose one more football game. So we'll see. I think obviously that game coming out of the bye against Pittsburgh is really critical. You're in a really, really bad spot right now. If you beat Pittsburgh, you have a tiny bit of life. If you lose to Pittsburgh, I think that's pretty much wraps on the season. Bengals have struggled against that defense. We'll see. Joe Burrow's been getting drilled, and looking at that Steelers team, you feel like he's probably going to get drilled in that game as well. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Bengals do have an opportunity here to get a little bit healthier with this bye. Dallas and Tennessee, certainly games you should win. We'll see if the Bengals actually do or not. But obviously, Week 13 at home against Pittsburgh, December 1st, is really going to be a critical game for this football team if they want to even hang on to any hope of staying alive in this playoff race. Some good news here. We were able to hit 13,000 subscribers during our watch party last night, so that was awesome. But now the road to 14,000 begins now. So help us out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Pretty much daily Bengals videos for you guys as well. And also, obviously not going to be live on Sunday with the Bengals bye, but we will be live in 2 weeks for the Bengals versus the Steelers. So don't miss out on any of our coverage. Hit that sub button right now.